What's up, people? This is Grammatics TV. I'm speaking about Arsenal. Arsenal are in a title race. They're in a title race, and I believe they have players that can win them this title. They've got a squad that I think at this moment now is one of the most strongest squads they've had under Arteta. Enough to win the league as long as there's no serious injuries that happen to any of the main players. But I've highlighted three players that I believe that can win them this league. And when I mean win them, I mean obviously there's going to be other players that's going to be, making sure that the team hopefully do well for their sake. You've got the defenders, you've got the way they structure their team in terms of defending from the front. And obviously you can know their positional sense has improved and you can see what they're doing. Being able to understand, it seems, the style of teams, nullify them as much as they should, and then obviously, probe and do what they normally do within their way they set up. I believe there's three players. I'm naming Trossard, Saka, and Eze. Those three players, I believe, have the ability in terms of their finishing, their ability to create, and I believe they have the ability to understand generally what it means when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of creating chances. They know that how to play, how to move, how to do the things that are required generally when it comes to creating. And I think when the going gets tough as the season progresses, when those moments where there's squeaky bum time moments, as is said, in moments where it's tight, it's quiet, when nothing's really happening, I think those three players have the ability to ignite something. Those players have to remain fit, though, in order for this to be achieved. But I believe they have what it takes. Let me start with Leandro Trossard. Trossard, if you watch him and if you're honest and you see the way he moves and plays, you see his understanding of the game. He's not just a pure winger in a sense of I'm trying to go past you only. He can facilitate. He can spread balls. He can obviously wait for fullbacks on his side, a fullback, left back, whether it's Calafiori, whether it's Skelly. He interchanges with them pretty well. He understands the late runs that need to be made. Whenever you're, for example, playing in front of a low block, you can see his movement. He understands the movement. He understands how to come off the line, how to allow the fullback to go forward, how to interchange with different players on his side of the pitch. Or you can see a lot of the time he's very much understanding of where to be when it comes to any attack that is happening generally for Arsenal. And I think he's been one of the players that has surprised a lot of people. He's always had ability, even from the days of Brighton. He's always had that ability to finish, always had that ability to be in the box. But I believe Trossard has that understanding. And I think in this league, as time has gone on with Arsenal, he's developed even more understanding. I think even his ability has always increased year by year. And I believe also, once he is staying fit this season, particularly for Arsenal, he has the ability to create something out of nothing. His goal records suggest that. His goal involvements this season suggest that, one of the highest at the moment with Arsenal. And I also believe that he understands just the all-round picture of a football game more than most in Arsenal. He understands the general positional sense. He has at the moment 11 starts, 5 goals, and 4 assists. In the 23-24 season, he ended with 12 goals with 18 starts. He's going to need to give some of that kind of return in order for Arsenal to be able to have a good shot at winning this league. Because I believe they have the players. The platform is there. They have the players now. And I think, like I said, they've got players like a Trossard who can infiltrate games, make things happen. He can do a given goal, open up on the left side, cross, goal for someone. He's that kind of player. He can just out of the blue do most things that a lot of the players in Arsenal, bar another person I'm going to mention, Saka, can do. And you're seeing a lot of this season with teams with low blocks against most teams. It's not just against Arsenal, but against most teams who are, considered some of the main teams who know how to play, those teams are facing a lot of low blocks. And I believe Trossard is one of the guys that can open the door. Open the door. Like I said, his goal rate that he's had this season, 11 starts, 5 goals, 4 assists. You're going to see him on double figures in assists, I'm sure, by the end of the season, as long as he stays fit. But he's going to need, obviously, to contribute still with goals as well. And I think his ability to come off the line, interchange with the players around him, the 8, sometimes in Declan, he will allow fullbacks to go forward. You see him facilitating as well. Just knowing how to play. He will do things that are understanding how to play in that position, knowing what Arteta wants as well. Not just, okay, yes, you have to beat your man, but just understanding how to play and keep that ball, and then knowing when to release it, knowing when to look up, put a cross in. He's very much smart in that way. And I think that's what Arteta is seeing. Hence why he's starting to, play in that position more consistently. He's showing a far more IQ, far more ball retention, far more knowing when to pass, knowing when to shoot, and just knowing when to play and slow it down, speed it up. And I think he has that in his game naturally. He's an all-round footballer. Hence why I believe Trossard is the guy. He's had important goals for Arsenal, scored some important goals in the Champions League, but in the Premier League, particularly over his time at Arsenal, he's a guy that you give him the ball, you work with him. He's a link-up player. You link with him, he will create something. He will create a cross. He will create a moment where he gives, the opportunity for one of the other players in the team. Or, as I said, with that record that he's had in 23-24, he's going to need to delve back into that a little bit to be able to, contribute as well as obviously, with the goals as well as obviously with the assists. So Trossard is one of them, and he's high on the list as well with one of the players I believe that can help win this league for Arsenal. Another player is obviously Bukayo Saka. For me, Bukayo Saka, we know if you're very much watching Arsenal games, you're watching movement. You see, a lot of the time people just go by stats. You need to watch movement, initiation, how he comes off the line, how he works with his fullback, his number 10 in Odegaard a lot of the time, how he always initiates. You have 2 people, 2 defenders or, players positioned in front of him. He's always having to start from a starting position of stationary, then to move. He's rarely in flight where you pass him the ball and he's in behind. Rarely. He's always having a lot of the time to start his moves or trying to go past the man when he's standing stationary, receives the ball and then starts moving. A lot of the time, yes, you can see moments where he will, depending on, the game and how it's going, you can see sometimes a break can happen. And yes, you can feed balls through him that way. But a lot of the time when Arsenal are probing, it's always from a standing position. Saka has to move, and he's always generally beats his man and gets in effective crosses. So his cross percentages over, the last couple of years have always been at the higher rates of most wingers in the world. So you look at some of the wingers in the world, you just make your estimation of who they are, and you can see where Saka is. He's generally in that, top 10. So that alone, and also his progression year by year. Last season, before he got serious injury, he was on course to hitting, I believe, one of his highest assists that he's had for Arsenal. And I just think that you look at some of his stats, for example, Saka, this season, 15 starts, 4 goals, 3 assists. Now, that's to take in consideration some of the injuries he's had, and also some of the moments where Saka hasn't done the typical Saka things at times. But with Saka, all he needs is the ability to be, I think, pushed up further. So not just stuck on the right wing. You see certain games, you've seen, if you've noticed, moments where he's been allowed to be a bit more freer, or not allowed. And maybe tactically from Arteta, has freed him up a bit. Everton game, for example, the chances he had, he should have scored one. Him getting in those positions more often than not have to happen for Arsenal, and have to happen for him to be able to affect the game more. Running in behind, for example, if you saw the Bournemouth game this season, Bournemouth away, where he made that run, cut back to Declan Rice for the goal, making runs that are off the back line of the defender. Defenders don't like that generally. When you watch football, Fullbacks don't like that run where you're having to turn around and see, you have to look at what's in front of you and then behind you. So these are the things that I think Bukayo Saka has. He has the ability to initiate runs, ability to finish and facilitate. His stats for 23-24, 16 goals, and that was 35 appearances. Again, Saka's going to need to delve back into that kind of season for Arsenal to do well, because we've seen their potential with these numbers from some of the players. They have the ability, so it's there. All that is needed is no injuries for them, and for Arsenal to continue to keep playing in ways that are expansive for the flair players. So Bukayo Saka, for me, is the guy for Arsenal still. They've made some additions in the summer, but Bukayo Saka is still showing that he has to be starting games in the Premier League, particularly week in, week out. Yes, injuries, tiredness, form will go up and down. And you can obviously make, changes with the other players. But for me, Bukayo Saka, when he's on song, when he's fit, he's the one that generally has output. He will make things happen, initiate, attempt to go past his man. 2 or 3 guys sometimes stuck up right in front of him, but he still manages to give and go in behind, cut back, cross. But for Saka to really get goals now, as his career starts progressing, he needs to be more further forward in Arsenal's attacks. Any breaks that are happening, he needs to be the outlet. A bit like Mo Salah has been at Liverpool over all these years, where he's allowed to be less, defensive in order for him to be more effective offensively. And I think he will cause a lot of problems once he is, given more of that kind of license of freedom. And also him being able to initiate and look at where the game is going and say, I'm going to make that run. And obviously, the Odegaards and the Zubamendis and the Rice should be able to facilitate those runs and those in behind moments. So I think Bukayo Saka will definitely continually play how he has to play, but I believe he's one of the main guys as well for this league. And also, Eza. Some say Eze, but I believe Eza is the one as well that will get into the back end of the season, contribute. He will do, I believe, similar to like what Gundogan did. 22-23 season, actually. When Gundogan at City was on a run, but he was facilitated to do that. He was facilitated to contribute in the way he did, because I remember that season he went on a run. And I think with Arsenal, Eze will do similar. I think once he stays fit, once he starts getting more acclimatized to the team and what's his requirement, and him initiating more himself, him saying, give me that ball so I can try and facilitate, as opposed to sometimes where he gets the ball, he's attempting things, but I want more from that kind of demanding of the ball. Like, I want to facilitate whenever he plays. Now, there's been obviously moments where he's played on the left, played on the 10. Eze is a guy that he can adapt to different roles, but in order for him to really be expressive in the way I think he can, the 10 is going to be a position where I wouldn't say he can't play there, but I think with him, he's going to need something where he's going to need a lot of runners in front of him. So with most 10s, Odegaard is one of them. He's going to need that too whenever he plays. Generally, he's good with runners, but I think Eze is going to be a person that he needs the ability to work closer with people. Him having that position in the 10, he can do it, but I just think that the left will probably be the position where he can cut in more so. Allow the fullback to go forward. Allow, for example, a Calafiori, a Skelly, to facilitate that area where, he's coming more in, and then obviously Calafiori will be going more inside as well, but outside as well with the Skelly movements. And I just think that someone like Eze will need closer passes with his teammates to be able to facilitate things. I think he's that kind of, I want to turn one way, turn another, give and go, going behind. He's not the type to just want to pass it and stand. So he's going to need closer relationships. And I think from the left, if he comes off from the left a lot of the time, you will see those give and go moments, the attempts when he sees a run from the forward, balls over the top. Eze contributed to Martinelli's, goal against Man City at the Emirates, the equalizer for the 1-1 this season. And you've obviously seen the moments where he scored a hat-trick against Tottenham. That was him playing further up, acting even like a second striker at times, dragging Tottenham's defence to one side of the pitch to be able to facilitate him being freer in the central positions. Stuff like that could be a thing where he's coming off the left, as well as also maybe playing more central to the forward, with the forward, where you can drag players out of positions a bit more. And I think that's what's going to be required for him to facilitate his ability, being able to drag players out of positions with the way tactics are set up for Arsenal. So I think Eze, for example, you look at his record when he was at Palace, 23-24, 11 goals, 4 assists, stuff like that. He has that capability. So even at this moment, with his 4 goals at this moment and 2 assists, he has the ability, once he allows himself, I think, to just take the shackles off even more. The main thing I'm seeing from Eze is just the ability to create something out of nothing. He's always had that ability. He can glide pretty well. He just weaves through traffic pretty well, attempts things over the top, has a very good strike on him, good technique. And I just think he's one of the guys that will, at the back end of the season, contribute. A lot of the players will contribute in this team. That's why the squad has been added to. But those 3 players will do, I believe, the business when it comes to them winning this league and them being able to, have the staying power, because that's another thing, being able to have the staying power. Now, if you look at the times when Leicester won the league, if you remember, the 2015 season, Mahrez, Vardy, Kante. Obviously, they had a base in their 2 centre-backs who were, at that time, one of the best centre-back partnerships in the league at that time when they won that league, in Hoof and Wes Morgan. But if you go back, you look at those 3 players in games single-handedly change games or control games. Kante was the controller, the engine in that midfield. We have one in Rice. But the difference is, obviously, Mahrez and Vardy, what they were doing together was world class in that season. Saka, for me, and a Trossard, I think, can give an output, maybe not to the same style or way that, Vardy and Mahrez did, but I believe Trossard and Saka, to be able to share the goals, share the assists, I think their records already, which I've already mentioned, suggest they can create enough to win games for Arsenal and to facilitate others. I think they have that ability to do their version of leading the line, because I think those two players particularly have that quality. Yes, you have other players that can do things as well. We know what, for example, even Declan Rice is finishing. But in terms of the attacking side of things, those 3 players are, for me, some of the best technical guys in terms of technique in their shooting. For me, I think you look at certain teams of the past, when, I know Arsenal fans don't want to hear this, but Van Persie, when he went to United, the change that United, had when he came into that team. Someone that can galvanize and take them on a run. You look at the 22-23 season, as I mentioned earlier, about Gundogan. The Rodris that were facilitating the flair players to be able to do what they do. The De Bruynes in that season. You look at Salah, how he's been facilitated at Liverpool. The flair players being allowed, or less defensive work, being allowed to be more freer, being allowed to be on the half turn more, receiving the ball in behind more, because they are more focused on doing what flair players should be focused on, which is scoring, assisting, causing problems, turning defenders inside out. These are the things that Arsenal players have. Trossard, Saka, Eze have that ability to do to defenders. If Arsenal do this more often, and they have been doing it this season, where you've seen a bit more different positions from Saka. He's taken up a bit more centralized and being more, in behind. Arsenal will win the league based on the style change that allows flair players to be more expansive in their production. But it'll be interesting to find out what people think. Like the video and let me know.